All right. So the Grammys were last night, and I have to say I've never watched them. I've talked about the fact that I don't watch the Oscars anymore because the movies don't really mean anything anymore. But I never watched the Grammys. Now I should quote. Let me see if I can very quickly find this quote. And here's why these award ceremonies are so ridiculous. Plato said in The Republic. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. He said, Plato said in the Apology, he had Socrates say, not by wisdom do poets write poetry, but by a sort of genius and inspiration. They are like diviners or soothsayers who say many fine things, but do not understand the meaning of what they say. The poets appeared to me to be much the same. I further observed that upon the strength of their poetry, they believed themselves to be the wisest of men in other things in which they were not wise. So when you turn on the Grammys, you're listening to people who think they're wise because they got to write a song, but they're not. So that's why it's completely uninteresting to me. But I forced Knowles to watch it. And so we'll find out. And Knowles may have been the only person watching last night. I hear the ratings were completely in the tank. Knowles, do we have him? Is he even there? Does he exist? Is Michael Knowles a real person, or is he just something that we talk about from time? Is he a concept? We got him. No,
how could you do that to me?
There you are.
How could you do that to me?
I suck, don't I? I really stink. Even I felt guilty. I mean, I kept saying, but it's Knowles. This is what he's here for.
You are right. I did constitute half of the audience, and I only watched some of it, by the way. I didn't even watch the whole. It was impossible to watch the whole thing. The ratings are down 33% over last year.
Really?
They lost a third of their audience. And by the way, they're saying that last year the ratings were decent.
Yeah.
That isn't really true. They had ticked up a little bit from the previous year, but in the crucial demographic, 18 to 49, they still performed pretty poorly last year. They lost a third this year of their total audience.
I know you can't know this, but just on a guess, is that the music or the politics?
Yes. I believe yes is the answer. There is, I forget where C.S. Lewis writes this, but he talks about how a culture that is only talking about politics, that is obsessed in every way with politics, is sick, and you need to talk about politics if you're sick. Otherwise, it would be like ignoring an illness if you're physically ill. You have to do it. But you can't forget that the only reason you're talking about politics is so you can talk about other things, cultural things, beautiful things, the reason we get up in the morning and live this world. And these people have totally lost any sense of that. And I do think it's a little bit of the chicken and the egg. The music is so awful and degraded that the awards show becomes awful and degraded. And then this is about politics, so this is about politics. All of these people, the Plato quote was excellent, they're all so empty-headed, but even the awards show, I can't emphasize it. I know that nobody in the audience watched it because I saw the Nielsen ratings.
Yeah.
I can't possibly underscore enough how the entire thing was just politics. And it wasn't even good political jokes. At one point, it opened up with Kendrick Lamar, who put some words together in a way that apparently constituted sentences, but I couldn't divine any of that. And then it was interrupted by Dave Chappelle, who made this lame joke about how it's hard to be black in America. But it wasn't even a fully formed joke. It was just that everything about it was so lazy. And then the most egregious part of it, the laziest part of it, is it culminated in an appearance from Hillary Clinton.
The great rapper Hillary Clinton.
The rapper, DJ, MC Hillary, my cousin. Can we just show that clip? Do we have it?
He had a long-time fear of being poisoned. One reason why he liked to eat at McDonald's.
That's Hillary reading from Fire and Fury, that tabloid book by Michael Wolff. Because, by the way, nothing's going to entertain the audiences quite like Hillary Clinton, right? That's what we have to. You've got some of the most famous entertainers in the world.
They were cheering for her.
Yeah. It's so. I mean, also, I don't even think their audiences like Hillary Clinton. They were all Bernie people in the audiences.
Oh, yeah.
So it was really, really sad and pathetic. Also, it almost made me feel bad for Hillary because she's just so desperate for attention, and she's just so bitter.
And the Chardonnay is getting to her. I mean, I heard her cursing on the air, talking about the witches, as we'll say here, and all. She's hitting the white wine a little hard.
When it's not giving her, causing her to fall down into her limousine or whatever.
But then Donald Trump, our president, gets into a scrap with Jay-Z. Now, I'm not going to say that Trump is like the greatest political genius of all time, but Jay-Z, I mean, his lyrics are just like, they're horrible. I mean, they just reduce people to dirt, basically. I mean, they call black people, racial slurs. They call women everything. What is he pronouncing on? Where does he get the authority to pronounce on it?
Well, it's funny because I began complaining about Kendrick Lamar, but at least he's kind of he's a Christian. He's getting married. He's doesn't do drugs. Pulled himself up from Compton. There is something nice about the idea of him, even if he is awful for music and culture.
Yeah.
Jay-Z is just awful.
Terrible. I know.
Jay-Z, the nicest thing I think he's ever said about women is that he's got 99 problems, but a witch ain't one. That's him complimenting women.
It's like, thanks so much, Jay-Z. It's like, and they're going to get up and give speeches. I mean, they're going to get up and give speeches about treating women with respect and Me Too. And I mean, they are Me Too, basically.
They are Me Too. Ironically, they only gave one major Grammy to a woman. That was beautiful. But on the Jay-Z point, this is... It's become cliche to say this is why we elected Trump. This is why we elected Trump. But this is why we elected Trump. We elected him because he's the first Republican in my lifetime who can fight cultural battles and win cultural battles. So here is just a little bit of Jay-Z talking on the Van Jones CNN program.
Once you do that, all the other closet racists just run back in the hole. You haven't fixed anything. What you've done was spray perfume on a trash can. And what you do when you do that is, the bugs come and you spray something and then they come and then you create a super bug, right? Because you don't take care of the problem. You don't take the trash out. You just keep spraying whatever over it to make it acceptable. And then, as those things grow, then you create a super bug. And then now we have Donald Trump, the super bug.
Donald Trump, the superbug. So it's so shocking. A popular entertainer called a Republican a racist. But I know you've never seen that before.
Now, Trump struck back, though.
Trump strikes back, and he did it in the Trumpiest way. He sent out this tweet. He said, would somebody please inform Jay-Z that my policies have black unemployment, at the lowest... It have just been reported at the lowest level ever recorded, and it was a rap. It was clearly intentionally a rap because look, I can publish blank books all the good day long. I will never be half the troll that man is.
He is one of the great trolls of all time.
But I'm very pleased that he is fighting back with these people. Because Jay-Z, in that interview, he said that money isn't everything. Black unemployment, that doesn't matter. Money isn't everything. Jay-Z, with his wife, my fellow Knowles, Beyonce, is worth over $1 billion. Very easy for him to say, oh, money doesn't matter.
Well, but the thing about it is that, like, Trump isn't even talking about that. He's talking about jobs. He's talking about the very source of people's dignity and their sense of themselves in the world. He's not talking about whether black people have $1 billion. He's talking about whether they have a job. How can you say that, Montel Williams, is that the name of the guy, the talk show? He tweeted out the same thing. What good is it if Trump doesn't care? Who cares if he cares? Who cares if he cares? I mean, if the guy has a job, that means so much more in his life, and if he's not like on welfare, if he's bringing home money to take care of his kids and all this, and the kids see him work, I mean, that is an amazing thing to say that doesn't matter, and all that matters is whether Donald Trump speaks the right left-wing words. It's an amazingly stupid thing to say.
It's really funny because he gets almost at a good point, but the reason they're saying this now, of course, is because the economy is doing too well. The public policy is going too well. If things were in the gutter, they'd be harping all the time on black unemployment or whatever, but they can't give him any credit for anything good. So he says, well, not everything is about money. Culture matters too. And that's been our point all along. Yes, that's right. Not everything is about GDP. Not everything is about tax rates. The culture matters.
To have Jay-Z tell us that culture matters with his hose and his, it's like, come on.
I don't know if you saw the clip this morning. There was this really sad moment, actually, from the show where Patti LuPone comes out. Probably the other person watching didn't recognize her. I was the only person in the audience who recognized her. And she's saying, "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina," which is not the most incredible song ever written. This is not high culture exactly, but it was quite nice, and she did it very well, and it was talented.
Yeah, she's a good singer.
She's a good singer, and it has lyrics that you can understand. And it was this really sad moment because I think a lot of times we're like old fogies. We say, oh, back in the old days, the culture was good. And you say, okay, Grandpa, whatever. And it gets saccharine and it gets sentimental and nostalgic. But this was evidence right before us
Yeah.
that even just 30 years ago, even in an Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, the man who brought us Cats, not the great cultural genius, even then the culture was so much stronger and more serious and sophisticated, and we're watching that die out for the likes of Jay-Z and Kesha and whatever other incoherent nonsense that we could see.
And this coming, by the way, when they talk about blacks who basically are the foundation of American music, everything great that came out of American music has come out of white people and black people sort of melding their sounds together and bringing this incredible sound that never existed before out of American jazz and American swing and all these things. And you know, there's a prejudice about things that are happening now. So you say, well, you're old-fashioned if you don't like rap. Rap is... Things can get worse, you know?
Right.
Things don't always get better, and I think American music has definitely gotten worse.
It's clearly gotten worse. We saw the evidence before us last night, and I suppose we should be happy that all they talk about now is politics, because it's just proof positive. If they were producing decent art, something tells me they'd be more excited to talk about their art.
About that,
but
yeah.
they can't harp on that, so they have to rant about whatever else they think will give them attention and validate their own careers.
Yeah, no questions. You're going to talk about this more in your show, I take it.
I'm going to analyze song by song, point by point on the show,
ouch. Yeah.
and basically why Aristotle is absolutely right. You covered Plato on your show.
Yeah.
I'm covering Aristotle on mine.
We do all the Greeks.
Yeah, we're going to do all the Greeks and try to get the Grammys completely off the air by 2019.
All right. Well, I owe you for making you watch this.
This was a tough
I have
one.
to admit. I'll see you later, Knowles. Thanks
See
a
ya.
lot. I do not understand. You know, and it is funny that you criticize a movement that's going on in the arts, and people say, well, you're old-fashioned. But sometimes things get worse, you know, sometimes things get better. I think television has gotten 10 times better. You never hear me sitting around saying, back in the old days we had Andy Griffith, you know. I mean, the TV now is better than it used to be. Movies are worse. Music is worse. Rap, I think, is an actual shame. I think it is an actual degradation of a kind of music that contributed so much to American culture.